Most people look at savings the wrong way. I grew up in a traditional Indian house. In the traditional Indian house, the idea of wealth was having a big bank account. There was no concept of investing because that's too risky. The idea of building wealth was you make a big salary because you become a doctor, you become an engineer. And then when you make a big salary, you spend nothing. You make $200,000 a year, you spend $35,000 a year. And then you take all the other dollars that you don't spend and you put it in a bank account and you let it sit there. That was considered wealthy for pretty much everybody, the traditional Indians, especially when you come from an immigrant family. But the problem with that is, well, inflation. Because inflation eats away at the value of our savings. We've seen this happen really extensively in the last few years after the pandemic, but it's been happening since way before the pandemic. And this is where, if you really want to become wealthy, you can't get there by saving. Now, yes, saving is better than you spending all of your money, but this is where I want you to be more strategic with your savings. And when you're saving your money, I want you to understand that there are 3 reasons to save your money. Number 1, save money for an emergency. Number 2, save money to make a purchase. Or number 3, save money to make an investment. If you're not saving your money for one of these 3 reasons and you're just saving your money to save it, you're saving money the wrong way. Now, how much money should you save for an emergency? What I say is somewhere between 3 to 12 months worth of expenses, depending on who you are and where you are. If you're 23 years old, you're fresh out of college, you're not married, you got no kids, you got no financial responsibilities, you can be more risky. You don't need 12 months of savings put aside in your bank account. Maybe 3 months are fine. Now, when you're 45, you got kids, you got a wife, you got a husband, you got expenses, you got liabilities. Now you might need 6 months. Maybe 9 months. If you have a very low risk tolerance and you can't breathe at night if you don't have a big savings account, maybe you go to 12 months. But once you hit that savings goal, you don't need to keep saving money just to save it. Now you can save money to have it be invested later. Maybe you're saving money for a big real estate investment. Maybe you're saving money because you're waiting for a good opportunity in the markets. That's fine. But it's not sitting there saving just because you think that's what's going to make you rich. And so this is where I want you to understand your savings and be strategic with it. And I want you to have a separate bank account for your emergency savings and then a separate bank account for your other savings. I know sometimes it can feel weird to have all these bank accounts, but it is so much easier when your finances are organized, almost like folders on a desktop, where now your money is organized and you know what this money is for. That way you don't accidentally spend the wrong money. The 6th thing I want you to do when you get paid is I want you to make a spending budget, which means now we're talking about this section right here. This is the money that's left over in your checkings account that's ready to be spent. I want you to have a system on how much money you can actually spend here. Notice, we're systemizing things. We systemize how you invest your money with your strategy. We're systemizing how you save money. Now we're systemizing how you spend money. When you do this with your money, you're gonna live a completely different life. And in 6 months, you're gonna start to feel very different about your money. You're gonna feel a lot more confident about the way your money is going. And in 6 years, you are not going to recognize yourself. You're gonna completely forget that old life you had where you had no idea what was happening with your money. It is hard. The first 6 months are hard because you're gonna completely change what you do with your money because this is not normal. This is what weirdos do. But if you want to become wealthy, you gotta be a little weird because you can't keep doing what the majority of people do because the majority of people are broke, the majority of people are unhappy, and the majority of people are unfulfilled. And I want you to live a completely different life. So let's talk about now, what does it mean to spend within a budget? Because now what ends up happening is you might have, let's say $2,000 sitting in your checkings account. And now you're walking down the street and you see this amazing sale on a brand new 85-inch TV. And guess what? It costs $1,995. And it's on sale because it used to normally cost $3,000. And now you say, well, I got $2,000. Let me go buy this TV. But this is where you got to understand the difference between being able to buy something and being able to afford something. But before I answer that, let me give you one more example based on the same situation. You're walking on the street, you got $2,000 in your bank account, and you see this 85-inch TV over there, and it's listed on sale for $3,000, and you have $2,000 in your bank account. And the salesperson says, all you gotta do is put $200 down, and then they'll finance the other amount of the TV at 0% APR. Again, to the average person here, they can afford this. They feel like they can afford it because they can make the monthly payment. But I want you to think about affording completely different. Number 1, affording means you buy it with cash. Affording does not mean that you're gonna finance it even if it's with 0% APR. Number 2, just because you can buy it with cash doesn't mean you can actually afford it if it is a luxury purchase. And this is where it takes even more financial discipline, which is just because you have money in your bank account doesn't mean you can spend all of it, because then you're gonna have no money left over to do other things. And this is where what you gotta do now is understand a couple things. This is the money that you can use to eat, and this is the money you're gonna use to live. Now, that being said, if you have this money left over, is it okay to spend? And what I like to do is be a little strict on myself, because I want to be more aggressive with my investments. I want to be more aggressive here. That way I always live within my means. So when it's a luxury, something that I don't need to survive, I follow a rule of 5, which says if I can't buy 5 of them, I can't afford 1 of them. And that's hard, because that means if I want a $2,000 TV, I better be worth at least $10,000 and be able to buy that with cash if I want to be able to afford it. Now that's hard, and I get it. That's going to make a lot of people very angry, but you got to decide, what are you prioritizing? And now when you're going out and spending money, the 2 things you have to remember here are, number 1, you're not going into debt to buy things that aren't making you any money. The only exception here is your home. And number 2 is when you go out and buy something, you're not spending all of your money to buy it. Because now what that's going to allow you to do is keep more money for yourself. That way you continue to have more money to invest, save, and build your wealth. And that we have cash to fall back on. If you enjoyed this clip and you want to continue your financial education journey, I have another video that I think you'll love. All you got to do is click that button right over there.